What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. This is my first long video in a long time. So today we're gonna get to a topic I haven't really ever talked about that much, and that is using astrology, predictive astrology, and what signs will show us our financial highs and financial lows, right? So we're gonna start by talking about certain things, certain transits, progressions, things you can see in your solar return chart that can tell us about, when things can be good or bad financially. So as you guys know, I have to keep my pen and paper here because I don't have the technological know-how to timestamp any other way. So anyways, let's start with Jupiter, right? So when Jupiter is transiting, so when you look at your natal chart, right, and you have Jupiter transiting either through your second house or your 8th house, that could be a great time of abundance. I would actually also add 11th house, but it's a little bit different, the type of money that's associated with 11th house. Second house is very much about income. That second 8th house axis is very, very much about money in general. Second is very, very linked to your actual personal income, right? 8th is more typically associated, with other people. But for example, like someone like an inheritance or your partner making a bunch of money, or you teaming up with someone. There's a lot of different ways. Teaming up could also be 7th house, but yeah, so that can be very good. And also like Jupiter doing anything with Venus, right? So like having Jupiter trine or sextile your natal Venus. You just have to look at Jupiter, and it tells you a lot. So yeah. And okay, so after that, so transit Pluto, obviously it moves very, very slow. Pluto entering your second house is another big one. And you'll see later when I talk about solar return that this is also a big one for solar return, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So obviously Pluto is the planet of transformation. I'm trying to keep up with my time stamping. So basically, yeah, Pluto is the planet of transformation. So when it comes into our second, so right now, Pluto is at 101 Aquarius, time of making this video. So, for a lot of people that would have a low Capricorn rising, something like that, right? You just have to look at your chart and see if the second house cusp, or if you use whole signs, it would just be for your Capricorn rising people. But yeah, there could also be Sag rising as well. So yeah, know about that. What else? Yeah, and that one I've seen like, obviously in a natal chart also, like, that can bring a lot of wealth, but it could also bring a lot of workaholism, a lot of obsession. So it could be a great time where one, builds wealth through this increased power and more, maybe takes on a new leadership position. Excuse my throat. So another one is Uranus. So kind of like what I said about Jupiter, but differently. If Uranus is transiting through the second or the 8th house, that can be a time of financial surprises in the best way. Because, like I said, Uranus is the planet. It is another very slow mover, right? So right now it's at around 26 Taurus. So, but besides that, you also have to look at the rulers of your, like your second house, for example. Like, so second house being the income. So for me, for example, right? And this hasn't happened, but I haven't had the transit yet. So hopefully it does. But like, I have a second house that is ruled by Virgo, right? Or that's Virgo. So that means that Mercury rules my second. Even though in whole sign it would be, yeah, whatever. It'd still be Virgo. So essentially, I look for Mercury, and I have Mercury at 28 Pisces, 8th house, right? Right now, Uranus is at 26, so it's 2 degrees away from sextiling. So maybe something will happen with me in a good way with income, because the ruler of my of my second house, is essentially being sextiled by Uranus, right? But the sextiles and the trines would be, and I've always seen them as more powerful. But yeah, also like little thing, like especially like when Venus retrograde happens, like, which is very rare, but that like ever happens in your second house or even your eighth house, that could be like really good, because obviously that period lasts longer and there's more of a meaning to it. So yeah, so you see I'm focusing along on the second or eighth, but that's not the only way of knowing things. So let's talk about solar return. But I guess before that, like about the Venus retrograde, it's like there's more, Venus represents money, so there's more of a time when we can kind of strategize and reassess like how we are with our money and how we want to be moving forward and stuff like that. So those are a little straightforward. Now, okay, solar return. So obviously we know a solar return chart. If we don't know, briefly explain it. Every year, and that's why I have people who come to me for, people come for natal, and then after natal chart reading, right, they tend to do the current astrology. And one of the main things of the current astrology reading, and some astrologers only do the solar return in one session, we have a chart for each year, a solar return. I know this is so obvious to a lot of you, but stick with me, right? So it's essentially a new chart that's made on or a day or before or day after, around our birthday, when the sun returns to the exact same degree as our natal sun, right? And it's based on where we are on Earth or the birth location, depending on the astrologer. I'm kind of 50-50. I'm still in that. I look at both, right? It's another video all by itself of which to use. But so obviously, as I said before, so solar return. The Pluto, that one's big. Seeing the solar return Pluto in the second house, massive, right? Now, you could also break this down to lunar return. Now, this is like a little bit more advanced. And there's ways of doing this. You could literally type it on Google or Chat GPT or something, like how to use astro.com to, if you don't have like a software, how to use it to see my solar return chart, how to use it to see my lunar return. You have a lunar return every month, right? So basically, I'm just writing this down as I'm saying it. Basically, we have a way with the lunar return to look at each month and what that's going to bring, but it's based on the moon and when the moon returns to its exact angle. And also a Venus return, which we have essentially each year. And since Venus rules money and love, we can tell a lot about, our upcoming year so for example, I have Venus in Aquarius, right? 12 degrees. So Venus is right now, just about 2 weeks ago, I had my Venus return. So you're able to make a chart for that. We can make a chart for a lot of stuff. I personally haven't really looked at my Venus return. I've used it more for like looking for themes of love, but you can definitely look at that too if you're really, really trying to focus in on finances. Now, so yeah, really just like, so back to kind of the solar return thing. And I guess like you could kind of give the same rules for that. So yeah, so like SR Pluto in the second, as I said, is huge. And yeah, so that could bring a lot of determination, power, and I would say also solar return Pluto in the 8th or even the 10th, right? This could really bring that Plutonian energy for the focus of that year into those into that area, into your finances. And 10th house obviously is very linked to career in today's world. So on the note of the 10th house, I would say another one is just having a very, very strong 10th house overall in your solar return. That is a big deal. If you have a lot of planets concentrated, like a busy 10th house, like planets like Jupiter, Venus, the sun, that could really be indicating a lot around career growth and a focus on that in this year. which can obviously correlate with increased income. If a lot of your solar energy or just your energy in general, and you have good planets there, the focus is going to be more on, okay, doing this work. And if your focus is, if compared to a year, let's say, where you have like a lot of 4th house, 8th house, 12th house, that kind of more emotional internal energy, it's going to be harder. Like, yeah, we all have to work, we all have to make money, but you see what I'm saying? The focus of those houses, of those planets in that 10th house is going to really help you. So, okay. Besides that, solar return Venus being either rising or with the midheaven. So that kind of speaks for itself. Like, kind of looking also at the solar return Venus. Let me just write this down. So yeah, obviously Venus is granting us, in a solar return, it's going to tell us a lot about how we're able to attract, in this case, money, right? So it could bring a lot of Venus in Jupiter, right? And Jupiter, I would say, also with the ascendant midheaven as well. I'm going to add that too. So these can give us powerful alliances, or just give us a lot of luck. It's not luck, but I'm just saying it for lack of a better term. So yeah, and there's more with the solar return. You really just want to look at the chart, and you can kind of tell a lot based on when you combine all the the progressions I'll talk about in a sec, but the transits and the solar return, and there's also a lot of other techniques, solar arc and Fridaria and perfections, and it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, right, to the Hellenistic techniques. But I'm trying to keep it a little bit obvious. But yeah, as I was saying about the lunar return. Now, I know a lot of people like to obsess with their astrology, which is obviously like part of how you become. I think that's kind of the stage for most people as they begin their journey, whether it's to become an astrologer for other people or just to know more. It's like really want to know about themselves. That's why I have so many clients with Aries Venus, I think. It's kind of crazy though. It's like literally 50% of my clients all time, which is a lot of clients, have Aries Venus. It's insane. By far the most. But yeah, so I think that there's a lot of potentials. You really have to just like look at those charts and kind of correlate them all together. Like, for example, before I get into the progression stuff, I'll just give you guys, and we're going to talk about financial difficulties in a sec, so that'll be like the big cutoff of the video, the big first half, second half. But like, for someone who is going through a lot of Neptune transits, right? Like me right now, I'm very transparent. Like, I've been going through Neptune transits, like very tough Neptune transits for years now, right? And now Saturn is in the sign of my sun and Mercury, and it's square my moon. So like, it's not that you can't, that like money is gonna be like so unattainable. Like, you should never have that mindset in general, right? Just a disclaimer. However, it's very, very important to understand that when you have tougher transits, which I'll get to in a second, tougher current astrology around money, you might have to really, really push yourself harder, right? It might not come as easy to have that motivation, to have that inspiration, but that doesn't mean you can accomplish the best. Like, there are some things that are fated in life, right? There are some times, like let's talk about inheritance. Let's talk about marriage. Let's talk about meeting a certain business partner, or meeting a certain having a certain something happen in your a certain karmic raise, right? Like something good with your employment, that you've worked off some like Saturn karma with your job. Everything is karmic. I don't care if you're working what you're working in. There's karma reflected in everything, right? I digress. So just know that there's beauty in the struggle, and sometimes we have to go through tough times, and sometimes the lesson is readjustment, right? So anyways, let's talk about progressions. So obviously, like, I'm just gonna give like two, so progressed moon in the second house. So just like tracking the progressed moon, I think is very strong. And Like basically the progressed moon, as you know, progressed chart, you can find that. It's like your emotional compass. I have a whole video on it. I should attach it, but I'll write that too. To the end of this video, it should pop up. But yeah, that is very, very important to know about, because it essentially tells you like where you're at financially, or where you're at mentally or emotionally. So if your progressed moon is in like the 12th house in Pisces, like it's gonna be a lot different than if it's in like the second house. It's in your second house in Virgo or something like that. I know those two don't correlate, but you get what I'm saying. Second house, let's say it's in Taurus for that person, right? So yeah, really knowing where that's at, because that can have a lot of bearing on your emotional focus. So when it's in the second house, there's more of an intention to earning, to saving, to investing, and all that. Same thing with the 8th house, and even the 10th house. I think that people, and I would say progressed moon in Virgo, like I've seen a lot of people get their shit together when that happens. Like my friend, she was kind of like a wild card. Well, she's always a wild card, but she definitely, like, when I talked to her maybe like 6 months or I don't even know, a while ago, like she was really focused on her school, right? Her new school, her new program, which kind of came out of nowhere. And I saw, oh, well, your progressed moon's in Virgo. It makes sense why you're just so focused and so like school, putting in the work. So yeah, just understanding like how your progressed chart is looking. Also, having your progressed Venus like conjunct your Jupiter is just kind of like a little cheat code. And because basically when you combine Jupiter and Venus also by transit, I didn't really mention that in the start, so I guess I'll just talk about this is more or less progression, just like Venus, Jupiter, that combination. Like that's a beautiful combination. That's like luck and money, luck and love, right? So if like Jupiter, which moves slower than Venus, like let's say that like my Venus is 12 Aquarius, right? Well, that's not gonna happen to me. Let's just say you have your Venus at, I don't know, 20 degrees Gemini, right? Well, pretty soon, not that much time, you're gonna have your Jupiter, which is around midway through the sign, is like 13 right now, I think. It will be on your Venus, right? It doesn't last. Jupiter moves the entire zodiac wheel in 1 year, right? So it goes through all 12 signs in 12 years. So we have Jupiter return every 12 years, but that's like a very, very good time. So in progression, now because progressed Venus, it only moves 1 degree per year, right? That's very, very important, because that gives us a chance for that energy to really set in for a longer period of time, and for the energies of Venus and Jupiter to work together. So it could manifest as like a very successful project, inheritance, an increase in social status or popularity, like having a new opportunity. It's just very, very good for your aura. And where there's like this effortless attraction, not just of like money, also like with love, but that's not for this video. Okay, halftime. I'm not taking a break, but halftime. I'm turning this page. So now signs of financial difficulties. So 1830. So basically, so for transits, we have to look at, so this is, predictive astrology, right? A few things. I can't say everything in this video. If you want to take classes, one-on-one classes with me, I have a few slots open. Just message me on Instagram at Jesse Innocent Astro, or yeah, whatever. That's a good way to start if you're interested in classes. And I only do one-on-one, and very, very affordable too, for what it is. But anyways, yeah. So basically, we can start with Saturn, kind of like opposite of like Jupiter. And Saturn in the 2nd or the 8th, right? Very, very basic transit. And basically what that can do is that can bring a lot of restriction to those areas of life. So income, and then also income that's created, or money that's created, manifested or created with other people. And it will push us to become, so what's interesting, I have this happening in my 8th. And I have, so it doesn't necessarily mean, like, astrology is very tricky, right? Like, you could have like this type of transit. Let me just see my exact degree. Yeah, so like it hasn't even fully entered my 8th yet, right? But by whole sign it has. And so astrology is very interesting like that, where I've already seen lately how I've had to start like restructuring my, like how I spend. Like, for example, I mean, not to like give too much away, you know, not that I'm like a careless person, but there's been certain things in my life, right? With like it can definitely bring a lot of financial responsibilities, right? And this could also be the case with Saturn transits in general, like Saturn transits to your Venus, and you just have to really look at Saturn, you know, and the solar return, progressions, all that stuff. Because what it can do when it's hitting an area of your chart that has to do with money is that it can create some kind of karmic restriction around that. And it can also give you a lot more responsibilities. So like you might all of a sudden like have to be taking care of someone, like, you know, someone that you care about a lot, which might take away from your ability to enjoy your income fully, right? So it's like you could still be making the same amount of money, but then maybe you have like this, or there's like this new financial obligation you have related to yourself. Something can come up, right? That just like makes it so it's like, okay, now instead of like ordering my, you know, my whatever apps people use I mean, I guess I have people watching this from all over, like Glovo or Uber Eats in America, or like Rappi, Pedido Ya here, you know, whatever. What's it called in the US? I don't even know the apps. I should know. It's ridiculous. Postmates, yeah. Like it's like, okay, well now I have to, you know, maybe I need to start like eating rotisserie, you know, like whatever, you know, if you're vegetarian, and start eating rice and pasta and beans and I don't know, whatever, you know, things that cost less, right? How can I save? How can I like analyze my life and figure out, okay, like this is an area where I don't need to be buying this. I don't need to be spending money on this. And sometimes when karmically that will happen to us. And it can be easier for some who are more minimalistic by nature, but then those who are more admirers of luxury and stuff like that, it can be really, really tough, right? To see a big, because, you know, sometimes we can equate that as like a loss, like us being worse, right? If like we are making less money, or if our standard of living goes down from like one year to the next, because we want to, like in our human brains, we want to just be going like this, right? So it can be really, really weird and awkward for us, especially with like the conditioning that we've been taught in the world for our life, even though life is always going to be like this, right? Unless you have like a steady job that you have like, you know, an increase in pay each year, I get it. And a lot of people do have that. But yeah, Saturn in the 2nd, 8th, even if you do have that, there could be something like new financial obligations, maybe something your house breaks that you have to pay off, maybe you have to move for some reason, maybe, I don't know, there's something that comes up, right? So yeah, discipline, and you know, there could be like lots of delays, new debts with the 8th house, right? So it's all about budgeting carefully. Okay, next is Neptune in the 2nd. So, so Neptune transiting through the 2nd, obviously it's a very, very slow moving planet. You know, Neptune is a planet that when it relates to money can make things very unclear, so, and foggy. So there can be a lot of confusion and potential deception around income and around our money in general. So it can also make it really hard for us it can make us very overwhelmed. You know, it can make us want to have more of a spiritual laissez-faire like type of attitude around our finances. So it's not the best necessarily. Now, I actually want to say something though, and I know I hope people are watching the whole video, kind of that I didn't really say about Saturn in the 2nd, is that Saturn in the 2nd can, you know, it can also be a very, very strong time for money. It's just like, it can just bring up, like, for example, let's say that you had like a very reckless, I know I'm going backwards, but let's say you had like a very reckless spending style, right? And then Saturn the 2nd comes, or the 8th or whatever, and it puts you in a position where like, I don't need to be buying all these stupid things I don't care about. I really don't, like, this does not make me more happy, right? Like, I would rather save money and have it for what really matters. And then boom, before you know it, you've saved this money and you come out of the transit, and then you have these super good investments, and then boom, you're able to afford like a really nice house or apartment, or you're able to give your family a better standard of living, or you're able to move somewhere that you want to move. Like, there's so many little things, or like your income goes back, but suddenly you're locked into having a better ability to manage finances, right? And it's like now you could be ordering the expensive delivery food, but you're like, nah, like I'd rather cook my own stuff. I'd rather keep it lower. So it's like these types of things. That's kind of how Saturn works in general, with not just money, in general. It's like it wants you to get right with certain areas and not go over the top Jupiterian. And Jupiter comes in, and Jupiter's like, nah, screw it. It's just abundance, right? Life's funny, guys. Astrology shows the humor. So yeah, anyways, as I was saying with Neptune in the second, also you have to watch out for like second or eighth, like you have to watch out for like deception. I would say also Neptune transiting your seventh too, because like you have to watch out for like sketchy like business partners or people who come in that type of way and who might be very bad. So that's something to look out for. Neptune also, so besides that, Neptune in hard aspect to Venus by transit. So, obviously like a square, opposition, quincunx, conjunction, undecided. But what can happen there is, like you just have to really, really be careful with your finances, right? Because you might, overspend, or you, like I said, like that whole pattern of not recognizing someone for who they are, or just spending recklessly. Even Jupiter, like Jupiter coming in and like squaring your Jupiter Venus is in Babylonian astrology. They talk about even the hard aspects being good between them, but I think like any Jupiter square opposite to like personal planets can create like an energy, like even like to like square Mars or square Venus, right? It can create something where it's just too much, where you go over the top. Mercury even too, right? So I think like even though we talk about Jupiter as being this very expansive thing, well, it could also make someone like go over the top with their stuff. Okay. So besides that, we have Pluto in the eighth. So so this is like transiting the eighth or the eighth house ruler. That can bring issues with debt, taxes, even inheritances. So there can also be like power struggles around shared resources. So Pluto being in Aquarius right now, it's your choice if you want to use Saturn or Uranus, for the ruler. You can kind of look at both and see like, okay, where is that at, right? What's happening with that? And then overall, obviously, like if your eighth house is like on that, in Aquarius or like on that line, you can kind of expect or just kind of prepare for the potential of something like that happening. Doesn't mean it's always going to. Okay. Now 1 second, behind on writing my stuff down. So then we have, very, very good for right now is Mars retrograde. So like I said before, my last one, Venus retrograde in the second. Well, this is Mars retrograde in the second. So if right now, like your second house is Leo, around that start of Leo, and this could be a time where there can be like lots of frustration, stagnation around income and around your money. So, and it might just require a lot of patience. Okay, let's go a little bit through these. So, okay, solar return for difficulty. Obviously, you have to look at like, okay, do you have your solar return? And going with like solar return and lunar return, right? So like I'll tell you, I had like a really, really difficult month. I think it was in October. And I looked at the lunar return after, of course, as I always do, I look after. And I shouldn't. Of course, I had Saturn in my second house that month. Second house income, Saturn. So yeah, so a solar return with Saturn in the second can be very tough. So yeah, so just like as I said before, really looking at that solar return chart, and yeah, just like how that can, it's the same theme as what I said before, like where there can just be limitations in income, a year where you have more financial responsibilities. It's very similar, right? You have to work a lot harder to see results that maybe came to you easier before. And there could be, lots of financial lessons. And it's like Saturn will test you in little ways. Like I said before, the food example is such a good example. If you're used to ordering like, not caring, oh, I'm going to order like, like $80, $90 worth of sushi, whatever, screw it. Like I worked hard today, I deserve it, whatever. Or like you're in the airport and you're not even shopping. You walk past one of those kiosks or whatever, and they have all the nice sunglasses, and you're just like, whatever, I'll try these on. And you try on this amazing pair. Like it happened to me a while ago, like a month ago. Like just the best pair of sunglasses. It was like Versace or something. But just the look of them, it just looked so sick. Like it matched my energy so well. And I was like, this is a fucking test. I know this is a test because these are the best looking sunglasses on me I've ever seen, besides maybe one pair. But like the price was like $700, $600, and I'm just like, this is not with it. This is literally like Saturn trying to be like, come on, let's test the Leo boy. Hell no, I'm not buying that. Nope, don't need it. So that can definitely be a thing. Let's see. So then also obviously Neptune in the second, same theme. You have to kind of know about that, what's Neptune doing. And it's really similar to what I said before. It can make someone very unclear about their financial situation, and there can be some confusion there. And it's best to avoid any type of like speculation. I would say also fifth house is related to speculation. So maybe with like people who have Saturn there natally, or different planets there, different difficult planets, they can have some difficulty with like investments. Like it's not that you can't be good at it. Like I know for me, I used to like be like it's like a joke with my friends. Like I used to like just like I would like buy something, like nothing like crazy big deal. I would make like bad investments essentially, where I would like buy something like at the top and then it would drop and then I would sell it, like, and then it would go up. Like, it happened like a few times. Nothing, no crazy amount of money. Besides one time, that's in my book if you're ever interested, which is called Pisces Live 9 Lives. I wrote it during my Saturn return on Amazon.com. I think it's still there. But yeah, so anyways, besides that, let's think. I think also, okay, so your solar return moon, if it's opposite Saturn or Pluto, that's important to know about. And I would extend that as well to progressed moon. But basically, like, there can be like a lot of emotional stress related to something that could be like some type of like financial burden. But we don't really know like what the burden's going to be, but it could definitely be a year that finances take a back seat. Now, also, I would add to this whole thing just like a solar return, like a internal, I'm just going to call it internal solar return chart. So what I mean by that is like, if you can look at the solar return chart and just see that the main theme is way more, like I said before earlier in the video, about like the 12th house, the 4th house, the 8th house, like Neptune, just like there's not that much going on around these houses that are and these areas of life, these aspects and all that, they're more related to a forward moving, like when it's pushing you more internally, it's probably going to be harder for you to just be like in your hustler energy, right? Now, also, even though it's not directly indicated or linked to money, Neptune, tough Neptune transits, tough Saturn transits, just essentially to any important part of your moon, your sun, right? Your Venus, obviously, Mars, like these are going to be times like with Neptune where you're going to have less energy, which can obviously, like I said earlier, make it difficult for you to be in your hustler mode like you are before. And then Saturn can have like a restrictive element, but it could also in some ways like bring depression or bring a period where you're just like not feeling as good emotionally, or you're kind of feeling like life is kind of pushing you back. So that Chiron also can have an effect of sorts. So yeah, we just have to look at astrology in that type of way. Okay, finally, so with progressions, so let's see here. I didn't write the times for two of these. Damn. I'll fill those in. Okay, so progressed Venus in hard aspect to Saturn. So if your progressed Venus is at, I don't know, 10 Aquarius, right, and your Saturn is at 10 Scorpio, something like that, natally, then that can be a really, really tough time, right? That could be like a year or so where there's lots of delays related to finances. You might not feel supported financially. There might be that need to tighten up the budget. So, hold on, guys, give me a second. So yeah, that one, and then I guess I would also say progressed moon conjunct Neptune. That's a time where you have to really watch your decisions. So that's like if your natal Neptune is like 16 Capricorn and your progressed moon is like right around there, let's say it's in that range of Capricorn, then you really have to watch out for kind of like having like financial missteps and doing things you regret. And also just it can just make it like clear thinking is something that's very necessary, right? So when that's the case in your SR or in your progressed chart, then that can happen. So hold on, guys. I'm way off with my timestamps, but anyways, so how to use astrology to help in these ways? Well, first of all, as I said before, track your second, your eighth house. What planets are in there. Look at the rulers of the second and the eighth. So as I said, for me, it would be Mercury. Eighth house is Pisces, so I would look at Neptune or Jupiter, depending on what type of traditional or modern astrology. And just keeping an eye on those, and that's very important. Understanding your key transits, right? So that's like why I have people come to me for these readings, is like I really want people to understand like you're going through this, you're going through that. So it might not necessarily, like I said earlier, like if you have a transit that is like for me with my Neptune, right? That I've had like Neptune square moon, then now I have Neptune conjunct Sun and Mercury, quincunx ascendant, progressed moon, Venus, Mars, all in Pisces. So all this very Neptunian theme. That's a time where the energy will be less, and you just have to understand that, because it really, really helps. Awareness is the first step, right? When you psychologically, when you have an awareness of something, of like, oh damn, like I feel really stressed today, and I had all this crazy shit happen. Oh, but the moon was in Scorpio, conjunct my Pluto, right? Because I'm Pluto and Scorpio generation. Okay, it makes sense, right? Like, it's not that it takes it away, but it definitely helps. It's one of the beauties of astrology. It's like When we can bring a light to something, something can grow, right? So yeah, understanding like your key Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus transits, right? And progressions, and your slow return chart, just how that's looking. You can even look at your lunar return if you really want to. And yeah, just how those are affecting like the financial houses and their rulers, but also there's other areas too, right? There's a lot in this video. Like I could add this video. I could talk about the sixth house. It really, astrology is a very comprehensive thing. It's a subject that when we take things in a vacuum, when we talk about different aspects, elements in a vacuum, it doesn't tell the whole story. That's why you always need to get a read, or you should always, keep doing your homework or reach out to someone to really look at everything professional, because like you could have some of these elements but then also be thriving, or you could have like some of the really amazing aspects but then have a really difficult time. So I guess like one person also would say that you can use that Saturn cycle, so that Saturn has like the 29-year cycle, 29.5-year cycle. Jupiter has a 12-year cycle. If you want to like get really technical, you could like kind of strategize by predicting, okay, so Saturn this year, that it's going to be doing this, that year, next year it's going to be doing this, and then Jupiter's going to be doing this. So it's like almost like during the Saturn cycles, you're learning about budgeting, saving, etc., which you're then able to like maximize your Jupiter cycles, right? Where you can invest and expand. So it's like Saturn is like consolidation, Jupiter is like saving or like expanding and creating something. So yeah, that's about it. Let me know what you guys think. Long video, I know, a lot of notes, geez. But yeah, I want to get this one out for you guys. Happy New Year. I hope this comes out tomorrow. Today's the 29th. But we will see. And besides that, much love to everyone. Ciao, ciao.